Hey, here we are in Subterranean Studio, Oakland, where a lot of magic happens. Tom Gears produces many albums here, and we're here with a very good friend of Tom's, and they grew up together. I want to say in Pacific Grove, California, and you guys are old school rockers, buddies who became musicians and never stopped playing music. So I just want you to know what impresses me the most. If you look on Subterranean Studio Oakland on YouTube, Tom Gear's channel, Gary Goldsworthy's video is on there called "Into the World," and not only is it a great song, standalone song on its own, but I feel the video really seals the deal on the message of that song, and I'm totally impressed. So you guys got to check this artist out on this video and song, "Into the World," Gary Goldsworthy. So you and Tom go back, and were you ever in any bands together, or were you guys just in separate bands?
No, actually, from the very start, we were playing in bands together. Tom and I first met in high school. I think he was probably about 15 years old, and I was about 16 or so, and met through a mutual friend. I think I needed to copy a tape, and he a funny thing, he had like one of those nice double deck cassette boom boxes.
Nice, I remember those.
Yeah, and it had inputs, so you could input something and then you could dub it, and I traded some weed or something to borrow it, and found out by talking to him that he happened to play bass, and so I said, well, bring your bass over, and if you have a bass and an amp, bring it over, because at the time I had my own place. My mom had kind of left, and I was kind of in a situation where I was about 16 and had my own little place that was like enough room to set up gear, and had a bunch of music equipment and a piano, and was just always jamming and recording. So sure enough, Tom lived at the huge top of this big hill. It was a very steep hill called David Avenue, and he took his amp, this big PV amp, and his bass on his skateboard and brought all the way down this steep hill, all the way down to my house, which was just impressed the hell out of me. And ended up showing up at my door, and I'm like, well, come on in, I was so impressed. And we started just kind of playing together, and the first band we had together, we had kind of two bands, one that he and I did with the drummer that also plays on the song "End of the World," Pete Petrika, who was also in the same class as Tom. I'm about a year older, so I was in the class before theirs. He plays drums on it. So we had a little band called Mission Impossible that was the three of us. And then I was in a previous band that was called the Original Biohazard, that was a Bay Area punk rock band. The other Biohazard is another band that was formed in the 90s from New Jersey, and we kind of just abandoned the name.
New York, yep.
Yeah, so there's two different things, but we were the original punk rock Biohazard that was the Bay Area band.
Wow, I love the Bay Area history, because coming from Florida and landing in the Bay Area in '91, I love talking to guys like you and Tom and Harold O and all these old schoolers about like living vicariously through, the days of the Broadway and all the old school
Mabuhay
Gardens. Yeah, exactly.
Some of the places we used to play.
So much cool history in the Bay Area,
And we played with DRI, which also Harold used to play with. We used to open up for them, and Dead Kennedys, Black Flag, DOA.
So this band you and Tom were doing was more rock, and then
was more rock.
Yeah.
And what happened is the guitar player from the punk rock band and I ended up getting back together and forming another band. But by that time, I had switched over from drums to keyboards.
Nice.
Because I've kind of play a bunch of different instruments. I started off as a drummer, and I played bass in school, and which was kind of qualified me to kind of help Tom along, kind of pass along what I was learning in school. I was playing bass in school, and then by the time we formed a band, I switched over to keyboards, so we had a rock band that was Tom on bass. I brought him in, and Pete briefly played drums. He wasn't the first drummer, but I brought him in too. So it ended up becoming the Mission Impossible ended up becoming this other band, Harem Scarum, and it was this was probably around 1988. Just to give you an idea of how long we've been playing together.
Wow.
And we played a bunch of stuff, some originals and rock songs, and played a couple times. And then another band that was from Santa Cruz that was an original band called the Escape Asylum. Tom also played bass in that with me. So we've been playing together probably about, I have to say 41 years, I think, something
that's
like
something
that.
else, man.
Yeah, but at some point we kind of did diverge past where Tom kind of stuck with the more original and the hard rock stuff. Where being a keyboard player, a lot of the gigs I would be getting would be a lot of sometimes pop or funk or different type of things, reggae, blues, and so it kind of leads different things. Musical wise, but always been around the scene. You know what I mean? So it's interesting to see how the punk rock morphed into the thrash metal.
Yeah.
And how all that music kind of evolved.
It's kind of interesting for you to go from punk rock to keyboards,
right.
Because we had a conversation
right.
earlier about how there's a lot of pure punk rock and metal people and rock people who really hate
right.
keyboards. And I have to bring up 3 people that changed both of our worlds
right.
and made you wanting to become more of a keyboard player, synth player, organ instead of guitar, right? You told
right.
me.
Yeah.
And these are John Lord from Deep Purple,
yes.
Bernie Worrell from Parliament Funkadelic and Talking Heads.
Yes.
And Greg Raleigh of Santana and Journey.
Yeah.
We both stand by these probably being the most influential and essential, on top of everything else, musicians of all time. I mean, I sing them so many praises, and so does Gary. And how did those 3 guys just mold you to be want to be more of a keyboardist and synth guy? I mean, that's really cool, man.
It was a huge impact because I did originally, very much want to be a guitar player and loved rock and guitar-driven rock for the first 5 years that I was playing music. But I always had an appreciation for music that had keyboards on it, and especially where the keyboards are nice and up in the mix, and there's just such an energy to it. And some of the early stuff that really caught my attention was John Lord. Some of the legendary solos I could name would be Hush. His solo on Hush, or Kentucky Woman. But Hush is just a classic rock organ solo that just is unmatched in energy. When you hear that, there's just nothing else like it. Or Greg Raleigh, his solo on Black Magic Woman. I mean, not Black Magic Woman. Well, no, he does do one on. I'm sorry, not Black Magic Woman. You got the Evil Ways. His solo on Evil Ways is a classic rock organ solo that I just went, you know what? Wow. Keyboards really can be a rock instrument and rock just as hard as a guitar solo.
For sure, man.
And that's
so all you purists out there, there's a lot to be liked about synth and organ, and it's just another level. And Bernie Worrell took it there too. And
Speaking in Tongues was, I think, the one that really his work, and then the funkadelic stuff like Maggot Brain.
How about Flashlight? Wow,
Flashlight,
wow. Right, all those sounds.
Flashlight next would be Flashlight or Maggot Head.
Wow, yeah,
just the funkadelic Parliament stuff.
Some of the heaviest shit ever, and there's another heavyweight keyboard guy, Bernie Worrell, rest in peace. Got to meet the man at NAMM before he died. So
very 3-dimensional.
Yeah,
I would say if I to describe his sound was that is very 3-dimensional. He wasn't afraid to do things like pitch bending and modulation and really kind of inventing things like that now people would maybe take for granted, which stabs, but something that I tried to emulate. I was in a funk band in the early '90s, and I had where you would stab a chord, maybe even bend up to it using a pitch bend, and then right when you hit the note, you hit it straight for a second, and then you would turn up the modulation all the way, and kind of like almost like a horns would do, but it's an analog synthesizer. It's very much a Bernie Worrell thing,
Nice.
very signature. I'm trying to describe what that sounds like, but yeah, if you listen to any of the Talking Heads or Parliament or Funkadelic, Flashlight, you really hear him doing quite a bit of that kind of a very expressive sound.
And later on, Bernie worked with Claypool and Buckethead on the Bucket of Bernie Brains. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Before Bernie died, he got to work with Les and Bucket and do something even crazy, more eclectic, right?
So, right, where you're getting into some kind of like progressive fusion rock.
I'm a big funk guy, and I can appreciate your love for that too. In fact, when I saw the Stop Making Sense movie about Talking Heads, I always wrote them off as like a 2-hit, 3-hit new wave 80s band. I didn't realize they're such a great funk band and world music. I mean, they changed my life musically on going from like pure rock and metal to going, wow, a band can be heavy but also weird, unique, quirky, world music, super funky, way funky, right? And so one of the best concert films ever, in my opinion, and
I have to agree.
You totally agree too. As we talked about before, I also want to mention that I'm really proud to say that meeting Gary through Tom, and Tom produced the new Mannequin Planet record that Gary and Tom redid the Girls on Film, and Gary's good at recreating and revisioning other stuff like that, and he's also working on the new intro and outro for the forthcoming Mannequin Planet album to be released next year, and I just love that about you, man. So you have a love for electronic music and industrial, is it safe to say?
Yes.
Of the blending, the fusion of hard rock guitars and dance beats. I mean, take it away, my friend.
I remember the first time I started to hear what industrial music, and so it's really fascinating how that evolved,
What were some of the bands that, say, brought that to light for you?
The very first one I have to say is Angst und Neubauten.
Oh, wow.
Was one of the first bands I ever heard described as industrial music.
Most people these days would be Rammstein.
Yeah,
but for me, it was
the 90s.
Ministry, KMFDM, My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult, Frontline Assembly, Skinny Puppy. This is all different industrial that really rocked my world. And
Skinny Puppy I heard of in the 80s, but the rest of the bands I didn't hear about until the 90s. But the first time I heard something where my friend said, dude, you got to check out this industrial rock. And I went, well, industrial? What do you mean by that? And so I was intrigued right away. And then, it was Angst und Neubauten. And there was a lot of other things like pots and pans and other sounds and the energy of it. I was like, wow. And then I heard Skinny Puppy, the Replacements. I would kind of describe as industrial.
Yeah.
Though they're a little bit more avant-garde. But
it's cool for us to go from
and then
being open-minded enough to be rocker guys and punk rock guys, and then we discover how cool electronic music is fused with the heavy stuff, because Ministry and The Prodigy can straight up be punk rock, electronic punk rock. I mean, it's very in your face, but it's still very danceable, In
a way, it kind of rescued rock. I mean, especially if we put it in the context of like the 90s, where rock was kind of morphing and keyboards were kind of going out of fashion. It's like this perfect morphing of like not being of doing something different, where there was a second there where it could have died off, but people were really liked rave music,